The revenue allocation formula debate, which has been going on for a while now. Well, now we're joined by Mr.Tony Uranta, who is Executive Secretary in National Summit Group. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm sure you must have read tons of articles about this matter, making the rounds at the moment, and also listened to our previous guest, which brings a different perspective to the entire matter, absolutely. What's your perspective now?
My perspective is basically, first of all, Nigeria is, we play out absurdities in the name of seeking realities or positions of progress. The revenue allocation debate is even not as simple as a lot of people have approached it as being. There's a revenue allocation debate which is based on the principle of derivation rights. There's the allocation debate which says, should we review revenue allocation in favor of, say, the local governments or the states? There's the part which looks at, is the federal government getting too much? And then there's what is now seemingly current, which is, are particular zones or regions getting unnecessarily too much? So depending on which one you are focusing on, you can have different takes. But generally what I see as happening is, as somebody said, the governors have been said to be lazy. I don't think it's just the governors. I just think leadership has not been creatively imaginative in Nigeria. So it seems that we are all rent collectors and we are really reaping where we did not sow. And I do not say this excluding Niger Delta governors, because even they have to be more creatively imaginative in how they exploit and how they develop their resources. We must remember that even the crude oil we are using to date, virtually no value is added to it by federal, state, or local governments. So who is being creatively imaginative?
Okay, let's take it from the first, or is it the second one you raised as to, who should get more in terms of revenue that accrues to the country? Is it the federal, is it the state, or is it the local governments? Who do you think should get more, considering our current political dispensation?
If you had stopped that question at who do you think should get more,
okay,
my answer would naturally be local governments. But when you say considering our current political economic dispensation, I become nonplussed, because in Nigeria today there is an imbalance that a lot of people are not even taking notes of. If, for example, my very good friend, an esteemed governor, Babangida Aliyu, and other governors in the north are saying that revenues are negatively skewed against the north, they forget that the north contains nearly 60 or 70% of local governments. So a lot of revenues, humongous amounts, are being funneled to that sector, that hemisphere of the country, through local government allocations. So we tend to forget about local government allocations. So we concentrate only on what the states are getting. Now, the South generally, and the South and Southeast particularly, have balked, saying that the number of local governments in the North, which is why we had that problem or challenge that arose in Lagos, about Lagos not having enough local governments from the Lagosians' point of view, which made them create new councils,
LCDAs.
LCDAs. Now, if we look at it from that point of view, revenues are really being excessively funneled to the north.
Excessively?
Yes, because if Bielsa...
Can we say no before we move, because that word excessively is very important.
Yes, that's why
it's been used by the Northern Governors Forum to describe the allocation that accrues to the South.
Yes,
South.
I will.
And you're also using it now to describe the allocation that accrues
very calculated
to the local government in the North.
Yes, because is
it enough in the very first instance before we talk about excessive?
No, it is. It's excessive. If Bielsa, which is an oil-producing state, has only 8 local governments, and Kano has over 40, then when you divide the revenues by 774 or so, you are multiplying what goes to Kano by 44 or more.
What about the population? Because the Nigerian state government says, I mean, these local governments should be some of the basis.
Well, you see, as a lot of more learned people will be able to, because I've noticed people will be your guests, they will be able to give you more facts and figures. The simple thing we always say is, what it takes to develop 1 kilometer of roads in, say, Bielsa is about what it will take to develop about 10 kilometers of roads in Kano, because of the topography, the terrain, and all. Now, so you do not, it is not fair, it's not equitable for you to just sit down and say you're looking at it purely theoretically without enough knowledge of the differences in the people's culture, in the lay of the land, and in the density. We do not even have enough so far facts that tell us that the density of, say, Kaduna is as high as the density of rivers. I am not sure we have enough demographics for that.
Mr. Uranta, just allow me comment here, because if you look at the headlines of today's Nigerian Tribune, the big story there on its front page, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Lagos, Delta get lion's share. And now they're talking about the monies being given, and the headline didn't even put any northern state. As you say, well, they also get some. And you look at the highest recipients of the 727 billion naira from the statutory and VAT allocations, where the oil producing states of Rivers that received 15.4 billion, Akwa Ibom 14.5 billion, Delta 12.8 billion, and Bielsa 8.6 billion. So the highest recipients now, according to this,
states.
Yeah, for states, yes, from the non-oil producing states were Lagos, followed by Kano.
Good. You see, I have always said, Lagos, for example, we should be receiving revenues based on the derivation principle. VAT generated from Lagos alone is enough to run 3-4 countries in Africa. But Lagos is getting virtually nothing. The money generated from Lagos ports, if Lagos owned those monies and was paying a tax of, say, 50% to the center, Lagos would be nearly as rich as, if richer than, South Africa. Just Lagos. We have not looked at the fact that those oil states are bearing ecological and human pressures. Right now, for example, Kolwama has only recently, the fire has only been put out. And I still remember that though the experts of Shell and Nostra were telling us then, before they put the fires out, that if they put these fires out before the next 6 months, there is going to be a continuous emission of gas, which will be not favorable to the people. Now that gas is being emitted. The people are breathing it in. How do we quantify that? We are looking at how much the state governments are getting. How much is getting to the people?
Mr. Uranta?
Yes.
We thankfully, we saw the visit of the President and even the Minister of Petroleum Resources to Koluama community. I remember that, this clamor for more monies coming to the South has also, been a thing that's been in the pipeline for a very long time. But if we look at, say, the visuals that came from Koluama community, you find out that when the states get these monies, it doesn't get to those communities. In fact, I remember that at some point, the debate became how to directly get the monies to those communities so that they experience the development rather than all the monies being concentrated in, say, the capital of the state, for instance.
Well, there's a book that was written on corruption in Africa, and they said corruption is random in Botswana, I think. It's prevalent in
Ghana,
and it's endemic
in Nigeria.
Systemic in Nigeria. Systemically endemic in Nigeria. Now, the point is that Nigeria is a corrupt state, nation state, because we have not really practiced democracy. We have felt that democracy ends with casting your ballot. Democracy, in fact, begins with casting your ballots. Democracy continues with your holding your leaders accountable. I am not sure that the response, for example, to Kolama was as urgent as it should have been. Okay, so it happened. So I'll gloss over that. But the point remains that leaders, like the last speaker was saying, not just in the north, all over Nigeria, are not being fully alive to their responsibilities. Now, so we should not expect that the South is going to be the saints of Nigeria. No. The same corruption in the South obtains in the Northeast.
Does that justify?
It doesn't justify it, okay, but it explains it.
Okay.
Corruption is making it less possible for the good, what we call the dividends of democracy, to get to the people as fast and as well as it should everywhere in Nigeria.
So what do you understand when Governor Babangida Aliyu did say, well, it should be reviewed to reflect, in quote, the current realities, not the revenue?
I don't know what he meant by the current realities. Was it the fact that no other states than the southwest, southeast, and south states that produce oil are bringing monies to the table? That's a reality. And really, we say he who pays the piper should call the tune. And the goose that lays the golden egg should be fed fat. Well, but even then, we are not... Nigeria was built on a federal principle, which was really a sort of derivation principle. But that said more, you owned every region, every constituent part of the country owned its resources. And so the North, with its groundnut, cotton, and other things, had 50% of revenues accruable from those resources to manage its economic and political development according to its pace, its way of life. The South generally had oil, palm oil, timber, coal, etc. The West had cocoa. This, first of all, debunks a lot of revisionism that is being put across to us nowadays as reality or history, that a particular region, any one particular region, developed Nigeria. Nobody developed Nigeria before petroleum. It was everybody developing his region with his resources according to his speed, and then there was a healthy rivalry that made each region move ahead.
Let's quickly look at some of the allegations that people don't even get to invite some groups, and being the secretary, executive secretary of the National Summit Group, we had Tijani Suleiman, and isn't that instructive? You didn't reach out to a group? Because if you go to the interview granted by Dr. Junaid Mohammed, he said you just invited Balarabe Musa, who is not representing the North. And I'm
first of all, I'll start this way. Dr. Junaid Mohammed also said Balarabe Musa is a nobody.
Yeah, he said that.
So if Junaid Mohammed is a man who ranks Balarabe Musa as a nobody, I do not know how much credibility or credence I'm going to give to his sense of judgment. But assuming we invited all Northerners, Alhaji Adamu Chiroma had already accepted he would attend. Alhaji Maitima Sule had accepted that he would attend. And these are notable Northerners from the Northeast and the Northwest, for example. Nobody can take that from them. However,
what about invitation from the umbrella body, the ACF, our consultative forum?
Oh, we invited the ACF. I have in my phone a response from General IBM Haruna, as a former president of the ACF.
Would you want to share that response? What did he say?
I wish I had my phone so I could quote, but what he was saying was that, first of all, the invitation came a bit late. That was when we realized we had 2 dates. We were going to hold it, first of all, during, as it turned out, the strike. And then we postponed it. But he said he could not attend it during the strike because it came 2 days before the date we proposed. All the other leaders who accepted, including Shiruma, Maitama Sule, and others, however, understandably, could not attend because it was Eid al-Madud. We had already fixed the date before the government announced the date of Anabi Muhammadu Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And I, for a fact, know that Tijani may not be fully aware, but Suleiman Yeshedman Yerima, his president of his body, is a member of the local organizing committee of the National Summit Group. Would you think Suleiman Shedman would not want us to invite his group?
Okay.
I think we did.
All right, all of this notwithstanding then, I mean, as a governor, wherever part of the country they've come from, is it not within his right to ask for a review of the revenue allocation?
Oh, of course, they have a right to. I keep, when we're talking about rights, we should come back to the issue which that young man, Tijani, have done. The issue of, say, Boko Haram. I believe the Boko Haram have a right to demand what the right demanding. If they say they want Sharia, they have a right to demand it. That is their right. Where the issue or challenges lie is that their right cannot alienate, say, my right or your right not to wish to stay within under the umbrella of Sharia. Or when you hear statements like, we shall drive all Christians from the north. Now, the north is made up, the north is not Muslim. The south is not Christian. We have, in Lagos, we have a majority of Muslims, indigenous in Lagos. In Zaria, you have Christians. So, when they push the Christians from the north, where are they going to push them to? To Opobo. What we're trying to say is this: everybody has a right to do or ask for whatever is asking for, but you must remember that your right must not infringe or impinge on my right. So don't ask for ridiculous things. I'm not going to say to America that because you have so much funds, you have a duty to give Nigeria X amount. I have a right to ask, or probably freedom to, but the ludicrous must not be entertained.